So this was a piece of news I was a little bit hesitant to report on because when it initially dropped, I kind of questioned a little bit of its validity and origin. We've had many times in the past a whole bunch of customs and digibashes that people claim are future Transformer product, and that really isn't the case. And we would point those out and go like, hey, be careful, this news is fake, ignore it, it's not the case. And when this one dropped in the weekend, I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to my Discord people because I don't have the crankcase mold right now, so I don't know how the gang molding works, and we talked with my Discord people to kind of confirm stuff, and then, of course, I ended up talking with some much more credible sources, and everything was thumbs up and everything's good, as well as F-codes and everything that we're going to cover here today that maybe you guys have not seen already in the news reports online. So these were images that posted up on Chinese websites, Baidu, Weibo, private message boards and everything like that. Of course, it spread all over the internet afterwards, Facebook and everything, and of course all the different websites. So let's talk about today this Generations, maybe a Generation Selects, maybe just a retail product, sometimes listed as a holiday product, which we still don't know yet, of a Medix the Docbot Rescue Bots Homage. Very deep cut, very interesting. So what this is essentially is they took the legacy crankcase mold, which is a extensive partial of the skids mold or the burnout mold, and they took the burnout head from the legacy burnout and put it on this body, gave it a color scheme that, in all honesty, like, you can't really pin it on one specific version of Medix. I mean, the closest one that we have is kind of like a middle ground between the BotCon 2016 custom class, which was pretty much, they took the Combiner Wars First Aid, they did a repaint of that. These were colors done by Jesse from the BotCon staff, and it kind of is like that, but then they also, like, if you really look at some of the official Rescue Bots toys, it also looks like the 2019 Rescue Bots Medix the Docbot, the rescan, the second color scheme. I'll post these all up on the screen. You could be the judge of that. So it's kind of a mixture of the two of those, really. I mean, what really seals the deal that it is Medix is, of course, that deco on the side of the lifeline, if you will. So that really seals it. But also, again, that rescan color scheme kind of also matches it in the right areas where the red is and stuff. But what's also fascinating about this, despite the fact that, you know, again, it's a repaint of the crankcase, it uses the newer head sculpt from Skids in that of Burnout from the Diaclone stuff. But then on top of that also, the weapons that are included, it has the gang molded gun that has come up to this point thus far with every single of those Skids molds, but it also comes with two clear translucent repaints, or in this case just molds, of the Minerva / Elita 1 legacy stuff. The Elita 1 came with clear blue, the Minerva 1 came with a white one and a black one, and now this one comes with clear red. And that's very bizarre because up to this point, we just were under the assumption that the weapons that have been given with a lot of these legacy figures were on the same mold sprue as the other characters. You know, it's something where you look at the blue of the gun on this one, and it matches the blue of the translucent plastic used for the windshields and stuff. So we would just assume that that's the case. Now, it's possible, this isn't fact, but it is possible that maybe these two guns don't go with this figure, and they actually come from another source, and there's another figure that's going to have red translucent of these Minerva weapons, and that means there's another Minerva repaint of that mold, or the Elita mold, somewhere out there coming down the line. Or alternatively, these guns are made separately. They're made separately, kind of like back in the day with Energon in 2003. All the Energon weapons were actually made on separate sprues, and then were distributed separately among the characters and figures. So that's a possibility too. Or just it's a possibility that maybe they just put a figure out and they took the weapons from it, and then there's something else that's going to be mixed and matched along the way, what they kind of did with Armada back in the day when they were mixing and matching minicons that were on a mold with certain characters. But that's a whole other deep cut story. But it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. What does confirm that this stuff is all legit, though, is a few things. Number one, JT Prime 17 came forward and said this is legitimate. It's a exclusive for next year in 2023. And it doesn't have a code name yet, but it does have an F code. We do have an image here now of the F code. It is F7016. And we also, but because now we know the F code, there was some recent news recently of another collaboration project of a Transformers Generation Project Bear. And we don't know what that relates to. And some people were saying, oh, it might be this thing. But the Project Bear has an F code of F7142 and doesn't match this one, so it's not related to that. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. But, I mean, if anything, it does tell us one thing, though, is that, man, now we're getting Rescue Bot homages in Legacy or Legacy Evolution or whatever is going to be the future of 2023 and 2024. I mean, we've reached that point now. Think about it. Like, Rescue Bot stuff started really coming out in 2009, 2010-ish. And if you were like, you know, let's say realistically you were like 5 years old, the target demographic for Rescue Bots, you're now, and it's going to make us feel old, as crazy as this sounds, it's going to make us feel old. But if you were like 5 years old back in 2010, think about that. That means that you're almost an adult now. You're getting to that threshold of 18 all those years later. And that's pretty crazy. So that means there could possibly be a demographic of soon-to-be adults that grew up on Transformers Rescue Bots as young children in kindergarten. Wow. So you could say that they could be a target demo in a small sense. Hey, remember growing up with Rescue Bots? Remember Medix the Docbot? Although he didn't look like this in the cartoon. There was a figure that represented his cartoon appearance, but it wasn't really this one. But man, that's some crazy stuff when you really think about it, though. So anyways, this is something that's a reality. It's something that's out there. We don't know how it's going to be distributed. We don't know how its release is going to work, but it is something that is out there and is going to happen. Again, it's claimed to be a holiday item, but that doesn't really add up now because the holidays are kind of coming and going. And unless this is something that's going to be December of 2023, and that's still a long while away, and by the time December 2023 rolls on, we'll probably be on like the next thing. I don't know. That's a little bizarre. So I don't really think the mention of this being a holiday product are legitimate. I think it's something else completely. But again, very bizarre, very weird, but at least confirmed 100% that this is legitimate. We have the F code. We have the confirmation from different sources. So this is something that is going to be happening in the future. So keep an eye out on that. It's just the weapons that are now making me wonder. What's going on with that? Is there potentially some kind of Elita 1 repaint that has, you know, red weapons out there? Or is this something that came from that cast and that mold and that is just being married with this figure here? We don't know. Let me know what you think. Very bizarre otherwise. I apologize for not reporting this sooner, but I really wanted to get all the information straight before I report it here on the podcast. Let me know what you think. Weird stuff, and we'll talk more about Transformers later this week.